During the power outage, my wife didn't notice that I had returned early. In the darkness, I heard her whispering to a neighbor, "When the insurance pays out next month for his accident, we'll finally be together." They clinked glasses, discussing my demise. I quietly left, then walked in with a flashlight, pretending I had just arrived. 2 weeks later, my phone was ringing off the hook with endless calls. If you'd told me a year ago that my wife would end up plotting my death, I would have laughed it off like a bad joke. Haley and I had been together for 8 years, married for 6. We met at a New Year's Eve party thrown by a mutual friend, one of those chaotic nights full of cheap champagne and resolutions you never keep. Those days felt like a different lifetime. Before the world changed, before work stress and mortgage payments dulled everything down. Before I found myself living a real-life crime drama I never asked for. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend our marriage was perfect. It wasn't. We fought about stupid things: money, chores, vacations we couldn't afford. Sometimes it felt like we were roommates more than partners. But deep down, I thought we were solid. I thought the occasional rough patch was just what happens when two people share their lives for long enough. A few months back, our neighborhood started dealing with rolling blackouts. Some nonsense about the city doing grid upgrades. Normally, it wasn't a big deal. Lights out for a few hours, flip the breakers, and move on. Nothing major until it became the backdrop for the night everything changed. It started small. Haley began bringing up life insurance out of nowhere. Said we should be responsible and increase my policy. She framed it around practical stuff. Our roof had taken damage in a storm, the water heater was leaking, bills were piling up. Money was tighter than we liked. It made sense, or so I thought. I barely skimmed the paperwork before signing. $500,000 if anything happened to me. I joked that she'd be rich if I ever tripped down the stairs. She laughed it off. I laughed too. If only I'd known. Around the same time, Lucas Hayes moved into the house next door. Divorced, mid-30s, all casual charm and half-hearted landscaping projects. At first, he seemed like a decent enough guy. Needed help fixing random things, borrowing tools he probably didn't need help with. I didn't think much of it. Just being neighborly. But then Haley started inviting him over for dinner. At first, it seemed harmless. She said he must be lonely after the divorce and we should be good neighbors. But after a while, I noticed how much effort she put in. She wore makeup she hadn't touched in months. Put on dresses she didn't even bother with when it was just the two of us. Cooked meals like she was hosting a cooking show. I brushed it off. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband. Then came last Tuesday, the night of the scheduled blackout. I was supposed to grab drinks with my friend Matt after work. But around 5 p.m. he canceled last minute. My phone was almost dead, so I figured I'd just head home early, surprise Haley. No big deal. As I pulled up to the curb around 5:30 p.m., right on cue, the power cut out. Perfect timing. Just my luck. Our garage door opener had been busted for months, something else on my endless fix-it list, so I parked on the street and let myself in through the side door. The house was pitch black, quiet except for faint voices drifting from the kitchen. I was about to call out Haley's name when I paused. Something in her voice stopped me cold. It wasn't her normal laugh. It was that high-pitched, nervous giggle she used when she was trying to impress someone. And then I heard Lucas. At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe they were just hanging out, passing time until the power came back. But the tone, the intimacy, was wrong. Something deep in my gut twisted. So I didn't announce myself. I stayed in the hallway, half hidden by shadows, heart hammering in my chest. That's when I heard her. "We need to make sure it looks like an accident," Haley said, clear as day. Lucas's voice dropped to a whisper. "Are you sure about the timing?" And then Haley answered, in a tone so casual it made my blood run cold. "Once the insurance money comes through after his accident next month, you and I can finally be together." They clinked their wine glasses together, toasting to my death. I can't really describe what happened in my head at that moment. It was like my brain just short-circuited. Like when you're driving on autopilot and realize you've gone 10 miles without remembering any of it. My mouth went dry. My skin felt like it didn't fit right. I wanted to barge in, scream, flip the table over. Instead, somehow, I backed away, slow, careful, like some hunted animal. I stumbled out the door, sat in my car with the engine off, and just breathed. 15 minutes. Maybe 20. I honestly don't know. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, my wife, it all cracked open in an instant. Haley. Sweet, soft-spoken Haley. Planning to kill me. Not in a heat-of-the-moment rage. Not in some twisted accident. Cold. Calculated. Premeditated. For half a second, I almost convinced myself I'd misunderstood. That I was imagining things. But deep down, I knew better. Making a scene right then would have been pointless. It would have just tipped them off that I knew. And so I made a decision. I would play dumb. I would act like everything was normal. And I would gather every shred of evidence I could find. I would beat them at their own game. When I finally went back inside, I made sure to make noise, slamming the door a little too hard, calling out Haley's name. "Hey, babe. I'm home." That canceled. Her voice floated from the kitchen, falsely bright. "Oh. Hey. Didn't expect you so early." I flicked on my flashlight and walked in. There they were, sitting at the kitchen island. 2 wine glasses half full. Candles on the table. Haley in a low-cut top she hadn't worn for me in months. Lucas looking like a kid caught stealing cookies. I plastered on my best clueless smile. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," Haley said too quickly. "Lucas just stopped by to check if we still had power." "Cool," I said, handing Lucas a flashlight from the stash I'd grabbed at the store. "In case you need it." He mumbled something about getting home before it got too dark and left in a hurry. Haley tried to play it off, bustling around the kitchen, lighting more candles. I watched her. Really watched her. She smelled like the expensive perfume she usually reserved for anniversary dinners. She kept checking her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. She avoided eye contact. Over the next 2 hours, we sat in candlelight, pretending to be a normal married couple. Eating takeout pizza. Making small talk. While I quietly cataloged every lie she was telling with her eyes. I smiled. I laughed. I even kissed her goodnight. But inside, something fundamental had shifted. The woman I'd trusted with my life was planning to end it. And I was going to make damn sure she regretted ever thinking I'd be an easy target. For the next few days, I lived like a man walking through a minefield. Every smile from Haley felt like a trap. Every kiss was a countdown ticking closer to 0. But I didn't let on. If she noticed anything strange about me, she didn't show it. Maybe she was too busy rehearsing her act, too wrapped up in the fantasy of my death and the payday she thought was coming. I spent the first night after the discovery lying awake in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing. I kept thinking about those wine glasses, that giggle she used, the way she toasted with Lucas without a flicker of guilt. I knew I had to start gathering evidence, but I couldn't rush it. One wrong move and they'd realize I was onto them. And then, God knows what they'd do. The very next morning, I ordered a set of mini cameras online, tiny enough to hide around the house without much effort. They arrived 2 days later, tucked discreetly in a nondescript package. While Haley was out running errands, I installed them. One in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in our bedroom facing the entryway, all connected to my phone. If they talked about me again, I'd have it on record. Meanwhile, I needed a reason to move money without tipping her off. The answer came to me during one sleepless night. Gambling problem. It was risky, but believable. Haley always said I had an addictive personality. Too much poker with the guys, too many nights losing track of time playing online fantasy leagues. The next evening, I sat her down, pretending to be racked with shame. Told her I'd been gambling online, that I'd racked up some debt, that I needed to move our savings to protect us from me. She was furious at first, but when I offered to join a support group, she softened, patted my hand, told me we'd work through it. All lies on both sides. The beauty of it was now I had an excuse to quietly separate our finances. I moved almost all our savings into a new account under my name only, leaving just enough behind to avoid raising alarms. I also started watching her closely, really watching. She was texting a lot more lately, going out for work meetings at odd hours, asking questions about my schedule, when I'd be home, when I'd be out. Classic guilty behavior. One night, I accidentally knocked over her purse while helping her grab groceries from the car. A small amber bottle rolled out, no label. She snatched it up so fast you'd think it was plutonium. I asked what it was. She smiled tightly and said, "Just vitamins." Her voice was wrong, though. Too sharp. Too rehearsed. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I Googled unmarked vitamin bottles. Nothing good came up. Then came the internet searches. Haley forgot to clear the browser history one afternoon while using the shared laptop. I wasn't even snooping. It popped up as a recent search. Undetectable poisons. How to stage a drowning. Life insurance payout timelines. She might as well have taken out a billboard. I started screen capturing everything, backing it up to a hidden drive. I wasn't just planning to survive, I was building a case. Still, I kept my face neutral at home. Played the doting husband. Brought her coffee. Kissed her goodbye. Asked about her day. I noticed other things too. Like how she was now encouraging me to go on that annual fishing trip with my brothers. Something she'd always complained about before. "You need some time away," she said sweetly. "It'll be good for you." Yeah. Good for her too if I didn't come back. One afternoon while she was out, I checked the hidden cameras. Caught a glimpse of Lucas letting himself into our house with the spare key we kept under the garden gnome. He and Haley stood in the kitchen whispering. I couldn't catch every word, but I heard enough. "We need to stick to the plan. Accidents happen all the time on lakes. Be patient. It's almost over." I sat there in my car, watching it unfold on my phone, heart pounding so hard it hurt. This was real. No more second-guessing. No more hoping it was all some awful misunderstanding. They wanted me dead, and they were getting impatient. In that moment, I realized I couldn't just coast anymore. I had to start pushing back. Subtly, carefully, like a chess player baiting his opponent into a trap. The next step was psychological warfare. At the neighbor's barbecue that weekend, I accidentally flirted a little with one of Haley's friends. Laughing too hard, touching her arm. Nothing obvious. Just enough to make Lucas, who was watching from across the yard, clench his jaw. Later that night, I mistakenly texted Lucas a message meant for Haley. Something innocent but suggestive. "You looked amazing in that dress today. Wish we had more time alone." I deleted it immediately and followed up with a casual, "Oops, wrong person." The damage was done. Lucas replied with a curt "MP," but I could practically feel the suspicion radiating from the screen. For Haley, I started dropping little bombs about Lucas's financial troubles. "Did you hear he's behind on his HOA fees?" I said once while scrolling my phone casually. "Hope he's doing okay." She frowned. Didn't say anything, but I caught her later Googling Lucas Hayes bankruptcy rumors. The seeds were planted. I was turning them against each other. One more small victory came when I overheard them arguing, captured beautifully by the kitchen camera. Lucas wanted a bigger cut of the insurance payout. Haley insisted they needed to stay focused. Two rats fighting over a sinking ship. Perfect. But I wasn't celebrating yet. This was just the beginning. The real checkmate would come later, and I wasn't about to rush it. By the time another week passed, I was barely sleeping. Not from fear, I was beyond fear now, but from anticipation. I was waiting for them to slip up, and they were getting close. Every day, Haley looked more tense. Lucas had stopped pretending to be casual around me. I could feel the weight of their plan pressing down on them. They thought they were so close to pulling it off, that I was still blind, still the fool. But I had my own plan now. Step one was canceling the life insurance policy they were banking on. It wasn't easy. I had to pretend I was just cutting expenses to deal with my gambling recovery. I gave the insurance company some story about reducing my monthly obligations. The cancellation paperwork went through quietly, no red flags. I made sure not to say a word to Haley. Instead, I accidentally left the email confirmation open on my laptop the next morning when I went to take a shower. When I came back into the room, she was sitting at the table, staring at the screen like she'd just seen a ghost. Her hand trembled slightly as she stirred her coffee. "You okay?" I asked, playing dumb. "Yeah. Just a headache," she mumbled. "Sure. They wouldn't get a penny if I died. Let's see how that changes their timeline." Next step, I called Lucas. Told him I'd been thinking it was time we got to know each other better, man to man. Offered to grab beers one night after work. He hesitated. Probably smelled the setup. But he agreed. He had to. We met at a little dive bar downtown. Place smelled like fried onions and regret. I told Haley I was going to a support group meeting. She even encouraged me. Probably hoped I'd get in a wreck on the way. Lucas was already a few drinks in when I arrived. He's not the type who holds his liquor well. By his third beer, he was getting chatty. Loose. He started rambling about how complicated life had become. Said something vague about people not being who they seem. I nodded along like I didn't know exactly what he meant. Then he dropped a little gem. Haley had apparently been texting her ex again. Lucas was pissed. Said she was keeping her options open. I kept my face neutral and casually asked more questions, recording the whole thing on my phone in my pocket. To twist the knife a little deeper, I mentioned the insurance. Said I'd been thinking about canceling it since the premiums were too high. His face dropped. His body actually stiffened. He stammered something about how insurance is really important, then immediately changed the subject. Amateur. When I got home that night, Haley was in the kitchen. Trying too hard. She'd made dinner. Chicken parm. My favorite. She never cooked on weeknights anymore. How was the meeting? She asked with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Productive, I said. Actually ran into Lucas at a bar nearby. He seemed kind of down. The smile froze. Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. That's all I needed. The next morning, I discovered suspicious activity on our joint bank account again. I called the bank while Haley was standing right there and made a whole production out of it. Yeah, I don't recognize these charges. Can you freeze the account for now? Just to be safe. Haley turned pale. I could see the gears spinning in her head: panic, confusion, calculation. She asked when the account would be available again. I shrugged. Could be a few days. Maybe a week. Depends how fast they sort it out. She didn't speak for the rest of the car ride. Later that day, I got a call from the mail-in lab where I'd sent the powder sample I'd taken from that mystery bottle in her purse. Not poison, just high-dose prescription sleeping pills. Crushed into fine powder. Enough to knock someone out for hours. Maybe long enough to drown in a lake. I took the call with Haley in the room. Pretended it was about a job application, but I repeated just enough words: lab test, powder, results came in to make her go stiff. Let her connect her own dots. Meanwhile, I'd been dropping more breadcrumbs into the neighborhood gossip mill. Told one of our chatty neighbors that I'd heard Lucas was having some financial issues. I wondered if maybe he was thinking of selling his place. Said I'd seen him around our house a lot, especially when I wasn't home. She ate it up. I knew it would get back to his ex. And it did. Lucas started texting Haley nonstop. Angry texts. Paranoid ones. I caught one message on her phone when she left it unattended for half a second. We need a new plan. This isn't working. He's on to us. Bingo. That night I disappeared. I packed a small bag, turned off my phone, paid cash for a motel 2 towns over, and vanished. For 48 hours, I didn't answer a single call or message. No social media. No bank activity. No GPS pings. And my hidden cameras at home? They caught it all. Haley pacing around the house, calling hospitals. Lucas showing up, whispering furiously in the kitchen. Him saying this wasn't part of the plan. Her saying I can't wait anymore. It has to happen soon. They were unraveling. Panicking. And I wasn't even done yet. When I finally came home late Sunday night, I acted like nothing happened. Told Haley I needed space, went camping by myself to clear my head. She tried to act mad. But she was too distracted. Her mind was racing. I could see it. That night, I heard her in the bathroom, whispering on the phone. She said he's getting suspicious. I don't think we can wait much longer. I didn't sleep at all that night. Not because I was afraid. Because I was almost ready. I had the recordings. The screenshots. The financial paper trail. I even had a draft email to a divorce attorney with everything laid out. The affair. The cameras. The powder. The plan. I left it open on my laptop, next to a printed copy of the canceled life insurance policy. The morning after I left my laptop open with all the accidental clues, Haley acted like she was living in a parallel universe. She made breakfast like a real one. Eggs, toast, fresh fruit. Even coffee just how I liked it. She hadn't done that in months. Her hands were shaking. I played along. I saw the email, she said finally after a long silence. Which one? I asked, buttering toast like we weren't standing on a cliff edge. She didn't answer right away. I could see it behind her eyes, panic trying to mask itself as concern. I hope you're not making any rash decisions. We can work through things, Nate. That was rich? Work through me being dead? I nodded, sipped my coffee, and said I'm thinking everything through. By the afternoon, her messages to Lucas had changed tone. Less romantic, more businesslike. I caught one of them on her phone when she left the screen unlocked for 2 seconds. He might know. Lay low. I'll handle it. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. The walls were closing in and she could feel it. But I wasn't finished. That evening I texted Lucas from an anonymous number. Sent him a voice memo edited from the hidden camera footage. Just a few lines of Haley talking about him being unstable. About how he was pressuring her. About how she was scared he'd ruin everything. I made it sound like she was setting him up. His reply came 30 minutes later. A full meltdown. He accused her of using him. Said she promised him half the payout. Said the whole idea was hers from the start. He never actually wrote the word murder, but it didn't matter. The implication was loud and clear. And I saved every word. The next day, I made my final move. I asked Haley to meet me at a coffee shop someplace public. Neutral ground. She looked like hell when she showed up. Dark circles under her eyes, phone clutched like a lifeline. I bought her a tea. Sat down across from her. She opened her mouth, probably ready to launch into some teary speech. I cut her off. Without a word, I slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside, printouts of Lucas's meltdown texts. Screenshots of her search history. Photos of the sleeping pill powder. Audio transcripts. And at the very bottom, a divorce agreement. Ironclad. No assets. No spousal support. Nothing but her car and personal belongings. She went pale. This isn't. You really want to keep pretending? I asked, calm as ever. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Then I added, or I walk out of here, go straight to the police, and hand them everything. She just stared at the papers for a long time. Finally, she picked up the pen and signed. Didn't even ask for a lawyer. Didn't argue. Didn't cry. Just signed. Before leaving, she looked up and said, "How long have you known?" I didn't blink. Since the blackout. She looked down again. I really thought you'd never catch on. We picked you because you seemed easy. That hit harder than I expected. Not because it hurt, but because it confirmed what I already knew: she'd never loved me. Not really. She just thought I'd be convenient to bury. After she walked out, I sat there for a while with my coffee, letting the moment settle. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was clean. Like something filthy had been finally scraped away. Back home, I changed the locks. Filed the signed divorce paperwork through my lawyer. Froze what was left of our joint accounts. Transferred utilities out of her name. Everything legal. Everything final. Lucas didn't respond when I sent him screenshots of Haley's signature and a simple message. Your partner sold you out. You should probably leave town. The next morning, his house was listed for sale. A week later, I heard through the grapevine that he'd lost his job during some kind of internal investigation. Word had gotten around about him and Haley. His ex-wife filed to reopen their divorce, claiming hidden assets. The whole thing was collapsing. Haley, meanwhile, was staying with a friend 2 towns over. I didn't block her number, just muted it. Her messages came daily. Angry at first. Then apologetic. Then desperate. I'm broke. I didn't mean for it to go this far. He manipulated me too. Can we just talk? No. We couldn't. The nail in the coffin came when I found the notebook. Stuffed behind the dresser like she'd forgotten to grab it on the way out. Inside, a full timeline. My daily schedule. Fishing trip plans. Accident scenarios. Even a chart of life insurance waiting periods and payout policies. It was everything. Every horrible thing. Neatly written in her handwriting. I kept it, of course. Not to use against her, but to remind myself. Of who she really was. Of who I almost trusted with my life. A few nights later, I matched with someone on a dating app. We grabbed coffee. It was nice. Normal. Easy. I didn't tell her anything, of course. Not yet. But it felt good to sit across from someone who wasn't pretending to plan my funeral. I'm in therapy now. Turns out having your wife and neighbor conspire to kill you messes with your head. Who knew? Some people ask why I didn't go to the police. And maybe I should have. But honestly, this was better. They lost everything. No payout. No fresh start. No dramatic crime documentary ending. Just each other's mess to deal with. And me? I'm still here. Still breathing. Still rebuilding. Sometimes the best revenge isn't sending someone to jail. It's letting them rot in the ruins they built for themselves.